time to do a rather average job of explaining this. But the point is that you cannot build a mouse without building the whole. You can't build a piece of a mouse. I think that there are experiments going on now which make it possible to build certain organs of creatures, including human beings, and I'm sure that is probably a very good thing, but it isn't a particularly desirable thing unless the animal or person is in dire straits and has lost one of those organs. Just going to go back to I can't remember which picture, it doesn't matter for the moment, but anyway, somewhere near the Great Hall, there's a pedestrian bridge, a kind of arched pedestrian bridge, and a terrace right near it, and the lake is there. The configuration of the buildings, the building members, the materials on the ground, etc., the bridge timbers, and so on, they all arise out of a configuration which has been built in somebody's mind. It's not a person, it'll be a group of people always. And what you do is, you in effect dream the configuration. That is, of course, you take into account, well, what's going on here, what's needed, and so on and so on. That's all ordinary stuff. But you charm the form out of the configuration that is laying there and is developing week by week or month by month. Although that is not quite the same as the old-fashioned word protoplasm used to describe biological tissue 50 years ago, there isn't anything like that. But there is something very much like it, which is going on in your own brain, where you are beginning to grasp what configuration is needed for that particular thing in that particular place, and you can sort of pull it out of the ground almost if you understand what you're doing. And you then have the opportunity to make a living structure, regardless of what particular kind of building it is, or what particular kind of part it is, or etc. This is an enormously different approach to building. I think you can see from the way I've described it that it would be virtually impossible to try to make working drawings and do all that stuff, boring and horrible and deadly as it sometimes is anyway. But the point is that it wouldn't really work. It's a far cry. You'd need more skill to do that than to do what I described. And take that ball. Just kidding.
Frankie was to me.
My vision of environmental construction, and I don't call it environmental design, because design is not the issue. Design is something that's going to get you into a mess. If you're building something, it's not going to get you into a mess unless you really are foolish. So it wouldn't take very long to grow a generation of, I'll call them artists, engineers, builders, which embrace a series of activities and skills. Then it's quite possible and quite feasible to imagine a place where training takes place to show people how to grow themselves into that kind of skill and activity. You would find, if you decided to try and do that, you would find that the curriculum of such an activity would be utterly different from the curriculum in an architecture school. Utterly different. First of all, you wouldn't have autocratic, big-time architect teachers who would wander about fuffing and somehow, you see what I mean by that.
Lovely vision. Wish there was, would be nice if great autocratic architects actually walked around in schools of architecture.
No, it wouldn't.
Cris,
It's your turn, John.
Cris, you show those pictures of actually staking out the land.
Oh yeah,
An important step, I guess.
very,
in
very
the
crucial
process
step,
you're
yes.
talking about. And what you have not, though,